Welcome to the beginning of our very first journey into the world of homeowners associations. Have you ever driven through a neighborhood and thought, wow, every house here looks so well kept, so neat, almost like they're all following the same invisible rule book? Well, that's not magic. It's usually the work of an HOA. Today, we're going to explore what an HOA really is, why it exists, and how it affects the lives of ordinary homeowners every single day. This is the foundation you need before we get into the stories, the conflicts, and the drama that often surrounds HOAs. A homeowners association, often called an HOA, is basically a group that governs a neighborhood or a residential community. It's formed to set and enforce rules, maintain order, and keep the shared areas looking nice. Think of it as a small local government that only applies to one specific neighborhood. The big idea behind it is to make sure the place where you live remains attractive, safe, and valuable, not just for one person, but for everyone who lives there. Now, here's something most people don't realize. Joining an HOA isn't optional if your house is inside an HOA-managed community. The day you purchase that property, you automatically become a member whether you like it or not. This means you have to pay monthly or yearly fees, and you're bound by all the rules written in what's called the covenants, conditions, and restrictions. These are legally binding documents, and ignoring them can land you in trouble. So why were HOAs created in the first place? The main reason is property value. Let's imagine your neighbor suddenly decides to paint their house bright neon green or keep 5 rusted, broken down cars in their front yard. Even if your own house is spotless, potential buyers may not want to live next door to that. HOAs step in to make sure everyone maintains certain standards, so the entire community remains appealing to buyers and residents alike. Of course, the rules can sometimes feel overwhelming. Some HOAs regulate the kind of fence you can build, the size of your mailbox, the number of pets you can own, or even the type of flowers you can plant in your front yard. While some people see this as unnecessary interference in personal choices, others appreciate the consistency it creates. It's a constant balancing act between personal freedom and collective responsibility. Another major role of HOAs is the maintenance of shared or common areas. This could mean parks where children play, a community swimming pool, a clubhouse, walking trails, or simply the landscaping at the entrance of your neighborhood. These spaces don't take care of themselves. HOAs collect money from homeowners to pay for their upkeep. In other words, part of your fees is going toward things you may or may not personally use, but they benefit the overall appearance and harmony of the community. Speaking of money, let's talk about HOA fees. These dues can be as low as $50 a month in smaller communities or as high as several $100s in luxury neighborhoods with pools, gyms, and security services. While these fees sound manageable at first, they can increase over time. And here's the serious part. If you fail to pay your HOA fees, you may face penalties, liens on your property, or in extreme cases, foreclosure. Yes, the HOA can actually take your home if you refuse to comply financially. So who exactly runs these associations? In most cases, it's your very own neighbors. HOAs are usually managed by a volunteer board of directors, people who live in the same community as you. These volunteers are responsible for making key decisions, enforcing rules, and sometimes hiring professional management companies to handle the paperwork and logistics. In theory, it's a system built on community service and cooperation. But with that power comes responsibility and conflict. The HOA board decides on things like how much fees should increase, whether a new playground should be built, or whether a homeowner's complaint about a neighbor's noisy dog deserves action. And not every decision makes everyone happy. Sometimes these board meetings feel less like friendly neighborly discussions and more like heated debates or even courtroom battles. Conflicts arise for all sorts of reasons. One homeowner might feel targeted because they were asked to move their boat out of the driveway, while another might feel angry because they were fined for leaving holiday decorations up too long. To outsiders, these may sound like small issues, but when you're living it, they can create real tension. For some people, the HOA feels like a power-hungry neighbor breathing down their neck, while others see it as a necessary system to keep everyone in check. Still, it's important to see the other side. Without HOAs, neighborhoods often decline in appearance and safety. Imagine moving into a clean, beautiful community, only to watch it fall apart within a few years because nobody was responsible for maintaining the grass, fixing broken lights, or keeping abandoned houses in order. HOAs aim to stop this slow decline by holding everyone accountable. What many people don't realize is that HOAs aren't always about punishment or restrictions. They can also play a positive role in bringing neighbors together. Some HOAs organize community barbecues, holiday celebrations, or neighborhood watch programs. These events can transform a neighborhood from just a collection of houses into a true community where people know each other and look out for one another. But, as with any system, HOAs can fail when leadership goes wrong. Some boards become too strict, enforcing rules to an extreme level. Others mismanage money, spending it on things the community doesn't need, or worse, losing track of it altogether. In these cases, instead of protecting property values, the HOA ends up creating division and resentment among homeowners. Transparency and accountability become crucial for avoiding these pitfalls. If you live in an HOA, one of the best things you can do is stay informed. Attend meetings, read the newsletters, and don't be afraid to ask questions. The board members may be volunteers, but their decisions directly affect your daily life, from how much you pay in fees to what you can or cannot do with your own home. By staying involved, you can help make sure the system works fairly for everyone. It's also important to remember that HOAs operate under legal authority. The rules and restrictions you agree to when buying your home are legally binding. If you break them, it's not just a matter of upsetting a neighbor. It could lead to lawsuits or financial penalties. This legal backbone is what makes HOAs so powerful and sometimes intimidating. Despite all the criticisms, the biggest advantage of an HOA is stability. By enforcing standards and managing shared spaces, HOAs help keep neighborhoods desirable, which in turn helps keep property values high. For many families, this stability is the reason they chose an HOA community in the first place. It's an investment not only in their house, but in their entire living environment. On the flip side, the biggest drawback remains the lack of freedom. If you're someone who values independence above all else, like painting your house any color you want or parking an RV in your yard, an HOA community might feel like a constant battle. That's why it's so important to do your research before buying a home. Read the HOA documents carefully and make sure the lifestyle matches your expectations. As we move forward in this series, we'll start exploring real-life stories of HOA conflicts. We'll look at neighbors who fought bitterly over fences, board members who clashed over spending, and even lawsuits that dragged on for years. These stories will show both the ugly side of HOAs and the moments where they truly work to protect communities. By now, you should have a solid understanding of what an HOA is, why it exists, and how it affects homeowners. It's not always perfect, but for many communities, it's the glue that keeps everything running smoothly. For others, it feels like an unnecessary burden. Your own view depends on whether you value order and property value more, or personal freedom and independence. As we wrap up this first episode, think about your own neighborhood. Would you prefer to live in a place with no rules at all, where everyone does what they like, even if it lowers property values? Or would you rather have some restrictions in exchange for stability, clean streets, and maintained parks? In the next episode, we'll dive deeper into the real conflicts and dramas that take place inside HOA communities, stories that might shock you, frustrate you, or even make you laugh. Stay tuned, because this is just the beginning.